You're dressing up. All right, everyone, please be seated. And state it's still your witness.
Yes, Your Honor, and before she continues, I just wanted to clarify something for the record.
Yes.
Detective Landrum's report was labeled for identification purposes only as 108. It is actually labeled 108A.
All right. Right, then the record will reflect that his report is labeled 108A. All right, you may continue.
Thank you, Judge. And I think where we left off is I had asked for permission to publish 108.
All right, and that will be granted.
Thank you, Judge.
Subject to our prior objections.
Yes.
And for the record, it's image 3291 on the disc. Thank you.
Pick it up now. Pick it up, Mercedes. Pick it up. Yeah, I'm mad at you. Why? That's a no brainer. What do you mean you're trying? You're not trying. Pick it up. No, it's not. It's not even heavy at all. Nothing. Pick it up. Yeah, I know. It is full. Pick it up. Pick it up. Pick it up. Pick it up. That's your bad face? Let me see. Show me.
Next question.
Yes, Judge. Katrina, who all lived at the Henry B apartment with Jose?
Jose, Rafa, Ruben, and Sinaida, and me, Jordan, and Mercedes.
Who are Rocco, Ruben, and Sinaida?
Those are Jose's brothers and sisters.
Who all saw the abuse Mercedes endured?
All of them that lived in the household.
Did they all live there? I'm sorry, did Jose's siblings live there full time?
For a while, yes.
What we just watched with Jose making Mercedes hold items, the jug full up in the air. When you think he would make her hold items up, was it always something similar to that?
Yes.
How long would he make her hold something up in the air?
Objection.
The witness testified she wasn't even in the car.
All right. If you can answer the question, if you know.
Several hours.
What would Jose say about Mercedes holding her hands or items up in the air?
That she wasn't doing it right.
Did Jose say anything about Mercedes muscles?
He said it was building her muscles.
Did police ever come out to the apartment?
Yes,
Do you know how many times?
no,
Was there a time that you talked to police yourself?
yes.
What happened that day?
Jose and me were getting out the Mercedes and the police showed up. And I went outside and I told them that everything was okay.
What do you mean by getting after Mercedes?
There was a lot of screaming and yelling.
What about physical abuse to Mercedes?
That day, no,
Was there another time that police were called out to your apartment?
no, not that, yes, but I didn't talk to them.
Okay, what happened that day?
I don't remember.
When the police came to the apartment, did anyone answer the door?
Jose did.
Was there another time that police came out to the apartment?
I can't remember.
Was there a time that police came out to the apartment where no one answered the door?
Yes,
What happened that day?
I can't remember.
Why was the door not answered for police?
Because
No,
we're-
object, she says she can't remember. Either she remembers and she's gonna answer, or she doesn't remember.
All right, that objection will be sustained.
Okay. Katrina, when's your birthday?
January 31st, 2000.
And in 2022, did you do anything for your birthday?
Yes,
What did you do?
I went out of town.
Where did you go?
I forgot.
Okay. Who did you go with?
Jose,
Wait. Again, same objection. This is,
It's a
it is
different,
boldly,
Stop one person at a time.
it is boldly disingenuous to say the least, to say, one moment I can't remember, and the next moment, what happened, let me tell you. Either she doesn't remember or she does, but she needs to be honest. And she's not being honest, I object.
All right, just a moment. Everyone have a seat. Ask your question. And if you remember, you remember. If you don't remember, you don't remember. Ask your question.
may I respond just for the record, Judge?
Ask your question.
Who all went with you?
Jose, Che, and Jeanette.
Who are Che and Jeanette?
Those are Jose's friends.
Objection, Your Honor. I'm sorry, was this when she remembered or when she didn't remember or she didn't remember where she went? So how could she remember who was with her?
All right. Can I have parties approach, please? Ask your question.
Did Jordan and Mercedes go on this trip?
No, ma'am.
So if Jose said that he saw Jordan beating Mercedes while you were in Austin, is that possible?
Leading Your Honor. object.
Sustained.
Objection, Your Honor. Also, we haven't even established that she's in.
The objection has been sustained.
Thank you.
You already mentioned that you, at one point, left Jose's. Why did you
Objection,
leave?
leading, Judge.
All right, I'll hear the question.
Why did you leave Jose's?
All right, that objection will be overruled. You can answer.
Because of the abuse that was going on with Mercedes.
Why hadn't you left sooner?
Because I didn't feel like I had somewhere to go.
What changed on this day that made you finally leave?
Jeanette offered me a ride to her house and that I could stay with her, and she said that we would be safe there because Chad was in there.
Your Honor, hearsay, object.
Sustained.
Can't talk about what anyone else said, okay? Where did you go when you left Jose's?
To Jeanette's apartment.
What was the condition of Mercedes at this time?
Very bad.
How was she acting?
Tired. I can't remember.
Can you tell the jury what happened the morning of February 7th, 2022?
I got up, I started washing clothes. The girls were there in Jeanette's apartment. And we were there by ourselves.
Objection narrative.
Overruled.
You can continue.
And I had an interview, I did the interview. And it was about 3:30 and Mercedes kind of like looked sick. Like her body just didn't look okay. And soon after that, Jeanette and Jose showed up to the house, to the apartment. And that's when we moved the scenery to Jose's apartment. And she started throwing up really badly. And we were trying to figure out what was wrong with her.
I'm gonna back up a little bit. February 7th, how many days had passed since you left Jose's?
2.5,
Had the girls seen Jose since you left his apartment?
no,
Had Mercedes been eating?
yes and no.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Because like she wouldn't eat every day, but she was eating.
Okay. On the day of February 7th, did you feed her?
She fed herself, but she did eat.
Okay. Was there ever a time where you stuck a utensil in her mouth?
No,
On that day, did Mercedes fall and hit her head at all?
yes, ma'am.
What did she hit her head on?
She hit her head on like a lamp that was standing up, a tall lamp.
After she hit her head, was she conscious?
Yes.
What happened next?
I laid her down and that's when Jose showed up to the apartment and we took her to his apartment.
Okay. Did you call Jose and ask him to come?
I think I texted him.
Who all went to his apartment?
Jordan, Mercedes, and myself.
How far away is Jose's apartment from Jeanette's apartment?
A walking distance.
Is it the same complex?
Yes, ma'am.
Was this the Henry V apartment?
No,
Had anyone called 911 at this point?
no.
When you got to Jose's apartment, what was happening to Mercedes?
She was vomiting and she was still responsive. She was talking. She was making requests like she wanted some water. She was just throwing up.
What was she throwing up?
I had fed her that morning some bananas and ramen noodle and some Danimals, so I guess she was throwing that up.
Okay, and now you just said you had fed her. Do you literally mean you
No.
physically fed her?
No,
What else is happening to Mercedes' body while you're at Jose's?
her feet started to get cold.
And what did you do?
I put warm water in a bucket and I put her feet in the bucket.
At this point, had anyone called 911?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I didn't think that she was dying.
Why didn't you go to the hospital?
I did go to the hospital, but it was too late.
Did Jose say anything to you about taking Mercedes to the hospital?
No,
Did you tell Jose that you did not want to go to the hospital?
no,
Were you and Jose talking about how you were afraid you were gonna get caught if you took her to the hospital?
no,
Were there any discussions going on while Mercedes is dying?
she was still responsive, so we were just talking to her, telling her, is she okay, how does she feel? And between each other, we were just trying to figure out what was wrong with Mercedes.
At any point, did you have to perform CPR on Mercedes?
Yes,
How many times?
one time,
Who performed CPR on Mercedes?
Jose,
Did Mercedes regain consciousness after Jose performed CPR?
yes,
And still, had you called 911 or taken her to the hospital?
that's when we took her to the hospital,
Was Mercedes conscious when you took her to the hospital?
yes.
Mercedes was awake when you took her to the hospital?
She was still vomiting, so, I don't know.
What time did you take her to the hospital? Do you know?
Mm,
Who all took Mercedes to the hospital?
Me and Jose,
Okay. What happened to Jordan?
Jordan was with Jeanette.
Tell me about the car ride. Where are you sitting in the car on the way to the hospital?
I'm in the front seat with Mercedes in my arms.
Okay. And who's driving?
Jose's driving.
Is Mercedes breathing at this time?
I couldn't tell.
Do you know where Jeanette worked at this time?
No,
What hospital did you take Mercedes to?
I think it was the Baptist hospital,
Do you know what side of town it was on?
the south side.
Have a moment, Judge, to look through evidence. Oh. I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 4. Do you recognize this? As a map of San Antonio? Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell where Jose's new apartment was on this map?
Right there.
Where that X is?
Yeah.
All right, okay, I'm gonna put it on the screen so you can follow along on your screen, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so this X right here, is that what you just testified to?
Yes,
Okay, and where is the hospital that you took Mercedes to?
at the red point.
At the red point all the way over here? How long did it take you to get to that hospital?
Maybe about 15 minutes.
How many hospitals did you pass along the way?
I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, what was that answer?
I'm not sure.
Thank you.
What happened when you get to the hospital?
They took Mercedes and then, not too long later, they said that she didn't make it.
Were you surprised?
Yes. I was devastated.
Was Jordan at the hospital?
Yes,
Um, whose phone did you have?
Jose's,
Why did you have his phone?
because I didn't have one.
When did you take his phone?
That day, a couple minutes before we arrived at the hospital.
Prior to that day, would you use his phone?
I would take pictures of him sometimes or take a picture of us, but that's about it.
While you were at the hospital, did you make a phone call using his phone?
Yes,
Who did you call?
my dad,
Did you call anyone else?
No,
Did anyone call you while you were at the hospital?
Jose,
While you were on the phone with Jose, did he express concerns to you?
no. Well,
Did he ask you to do anything?
to bring his phone outside.
How did that phone conversation go?
I was screaming, telling him that my daughter just passed away, that I'm not worried about a phone. And, that he needs to stop calling because I'm talking to the officers.
How many times did he ask you to bring him his phone?
Like 5 times.
Why wasn't Jose in the hospital with you?
I don't know, he just didn't go in,
Did you tell him not to go in?
no.
I'll pass the witness.
Good
Defense.
afternoon. My name is Teresa Connolly. We had a long day. Uh, all. I'm gonna start from the beginning because it's everywhere. You told amazing things about what Jose did to Mercedes. Isn't that true?
Yes, ma'am.
Didn't you do the same things to her?
No, I didn't.
Do you realize that there are 6,015 pages of CPS reports about you?
No, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that. Do you know, Angelica Edwards?
Yes,
You know, she made a report to CPS about you.
I'm gonna object to hearsay and not.
Sustained.
Did you know that she ever made reports about you?
Again, Judge, same objection hearsay.
Gotta be overruled. You can answer if you know.
no, I didn't know.
Didn't know. Who is she?
She's my god sister.
Your God's sister? Okay, and sorry, there's so much, there are so many reports here.
I'm gonna object to sidebar comment.
I'm sorry, I was speaking to myself. I apologize for that.
All right, so this is what everyone needs to remember. If you're talking out loud to yourself, you need to speak up because the court reporter is taking down everything everyone says. Okay, thank you. All right, you can ask your next question.
I'm looking for my notes, Your Honor. Sorry to take so long. Was Angelica Edwards afraid of you?
No,
Did she ever say she was afraid of you?
no,
Were any members of your family afraid of you, if you know?
no,
Do you remember the CPS visit at Homer's house where Angelica lived back in January of 2022?
yes.
And what happened at that meeting?
They just talked to Jordan and Mercedes by themselves and they asked them a few questions and they said that it looks okay, that everything's good, that they were gonna be closing the case.
At that time, did the CPS worker have Angelica, Mercedes take off her clothes at any time?
No,
Did she examine the body of Mercedes at that time?
no,
But she said everything was okay anyway.
yes,
And there were apparently no marks visible at that time on Mercedes. Is that correct?
that's correct.
And what about her hair? What did Mercedes' hair look like at that visit?
And she had a full hair.
I'm sorry?
She had a full head of
She had a
hair.
full head of hair. There's pictures that we saw of Mercedes while you were testifying where she had hardly any hair. Most of her hair was removed. None of that happened prior to February 7th?
No,
Now, I'm not sure that I heard it correctly, but how did you describe Mercedes' bad behavior?
I don't think they asked me that.
I didn't ask you. It was Mrs.
All right, just, excuse me, ask your question and just answer the question.
Do you recall, how would you describe Mercedes' bad behavior? I believe you said it earlier, but how would you describe it again? Her bad behavior. What did she do that was so bad?
She would just talk back or not keep her hands still while she's in timeout, or
What was that you said?
she would not keep her hands still while she was in timeout.
She wouldn't keep her hands still. What did you mean by that?
She would be touching and grabbing things or like looking around or trying to watch TV on the side. Talking, trying to get her sister to talk to her and stuff like that.
Where did timeout occur? Was she always put in the closet?
No, at first she was just put in the room in a corner.
In a corner? And what instructions was she given when she was put in the corner?
To put her hands behind her back and not touch anything and be quiet. And if you cry, then you stay longer.
Were you criticized for your behavior towards her when she was in timeout?
No,
Were you criticized for using clothing to tie her arms and hands when she was in timeout?
I didn't do that.
Were you ever criticized for it? I didn't ask if you did it. Were you ever criticized for it?
No,
So if it turns up in reports, the reports are wrong. Is that right?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So timeout, she would use her hands, she'd move them around, she'd try to grab at things. What else did she do that was so bad?
She didn't really do much bad.
Then why was she beaten so much?
Jose didn't like a lot of things that she did.
I didn't say what did Jose do. I said, why was she beaten so much? You testified that you beat her with a belt. Why?
I didn't say I beat her with the belt.
Never said that?
No, I said I whooped her with the belt.
You would what?
I spanked her with the belt.
You spanked her with the belt.
Yes,
Isn't that called beating too?
no.
Okay, so how else was she bad? Mercedes.
Like I said, she wouldn't say her ABCs or she didn't count numbers or.
Objection. Just a moment, please. She wouldn't say her ABCs. What was the context of that? Like, does she just automatically have to spurt them or?
No, Jose would ask her to say.
I'm not
her
asking
ABCs.
about Jose.
All right, stop. Everyone, it needs to be one person at a time, otherwise the court reporter is not going to take down the record.
Apologies, Miss Diana. So when we're talking about when she was bad and you want to go to Jose right away, but why did you think she was bad about ABCs? How did that come up with
I
you?
didn't. No, that's, I would get mad at her because she would lie, or she would talk back, or she wouldn't do exactly what I told her to do. Or she would play with things in timeout or watch TV while I told her not to. She would, I had these like vitamin gummies and like I fell asleep one time and she wanted to open the vitamin gummies and eat them as candy. So she got in trouble for that.
What did she do? Was she destructive towards things? Did she break things and deliberately break things or throw
No.
things or?
No,
No. Did she steal from you?
no,
Was she violent toward you? Did she hit you or?
Sometimes, yes, sometimes she would pick me when I was bigger and she'll claw at me or do stuff like that.
Claw at you. Why
Sometimes.
would she kick you?
She would kick me because I would try to bend her over to spank her in her butt and she didn't want to bend over, so she would kick and squirm.
Did you expect her to voluntarily bend over while you smacked her?
Yes,
Why was that?
I mean, if I tell you you're gonna get a spanking, then you should be ready for a spanking.
You should be ready for it.
Yes,
Did you ever spank Jordan?
yes,
And she would just bend over and let you
yes,
without hesitation.
yes,
And that was your definition of a good child, right?
that's good behavior.
If needed. What other things did she do specifically that got her in trouble? Mercedes, I'm talking about.
I think I already answered that question.
Well, indulge me. What else was there?
Nothing else,
Nothing else.
not that I can remember.
So the worst thing she ever did was not listen to you, talk back to you, not cooperate when you were trying to smack her or beat her. Yes,
I never claimed to smack her or beat her.
you didn't. When you were trying to get her to turn over so you could, what to her?
Spank her butt.
Spank her butt. So when she wouldn't cooperate so that you could spank her butt, that was a bad act. Is that right?
Yes,
Have I covered all the bad acts that she's done?
she would lie.
What would she lie about?
Like for instance, there was this one time that they were on the balcony and um, she was throwing the gummy bears off of the balcony and I told her not to get near the balcony because you can fall and you can end up on the ground. And so when I asked her, I said, Mercedes, I saw you do this, and she said, no, I didn't do that, and I saw her do it. So she lied.
So that was considered a lie by you. And that was bad behavior, in your opinion?
Yes,
What did you do to her when she lied about throwing gummy bears up the balcony?
put her in timeout.
And where was the timeout? Was it in the closet this time?
No, it was in the room,
In the room? Which room?
in me and Jose's room,
You're in Jose's room. Where was this?
in Henry B Apartments,
And what floor were you on?
second floor.
What kind of a fence was around the balcony?
I don't remember.
And you considered it to be you and Jose's room, but you didn't live there. You were just staying there, right?
No, I moved in for 3 weeks.
You moved in for 3 weeks. When was this?
When was what?
When did you move in for 3 weeks?
Sometime in January,
In February of what year?
January 2022.
January of 2022 is when you moved in, and you hadn't lived there before that?
I mean, I would stay the night, but we didn't live there. I didn't have none of my belongings there or anything like that.
Where were you living at that time?
At Homer's house.
At Homer's house, and that was where Angelica lived as well, is that right?
Yes,
Okay, so you were hardly at Jose's house at all prior?
no, we were there a lot.
You were there a lot. Did the kids go to school?
They were enrolled, but they didn't really go to school.
Why?
I don't know, I just liked having them with me.
You what?
I like to have them with me.
So you didn't send them to school?
Sometimes I did, but they had a hard time of getting dropped off and I didn't like to see them cry.
You moved a lot. Was that true?
I'm gonna object to relevant.
Relevant as to where the kids went to school?
Sustained. Ask your next
Where
question.
did the kids go to school?
I forgot the name.
Where was it located?
Near Marbach and 410?
Marbach and 410. Didn't you live on the south side?
No,
Where did Homer live?
Marbach and 410.
Marbach and 410. And how often how long did they go to school? What grades were they in?
Jordan was in first grade and Mercedes was in kindergarten.
In kindergarten, at some school near 410 and Marbach.
I think it was called Hatchet. I'm not sure.
Gotcha, all right. And where was your pediatrician?
I'm gonna object to relevant.
Overruled.
That's it.
Yes, you can answer.
Vivia Pediatrics in the south side.
And next to what hospital was that?
Southwest General Hospital?
Southwest General, and that's where you took Mercedes the night she was dead, right?
No,
Was it?
no, it was the Baptist Hospital
Baptist Hospital where?
in the south side.
Was it across from the pediatricians?
No,
You took her to a Baptist hospital, and that's the only name of the Baptist hospital?
yes,
Wasn't called Texas Vista?
I don't know, maybe,
Maybe.
but I know it was the Baptist Hospital.
Okay, the Baptist hospital. So you lived with Homer, Angelica lived there too. The kids went to, you think, the Hatchet School over by Marbach and 410,
Mhm.
but they didn't go regularly.
Yeah, they didn't go regularly.
And whose responsibility was it for those children to go to school?
Mine,
And why didn't you take them to school?
Object to asked and answered.
Overruled,
Relevant.
overruled.
what was the question?
Why didn't you take them to school?
They didn't like to depart from me.
I'm sorry,
They didn't like to depart from me.
but you're the parent. Didn't you feel it was your responsibility to take them to school?
Yes, I mean, they went to daycare for a long time and they would go to daycare, but when they started school, they didn't really like to go to school, so I would feel bad and I would keep them with me.
That they didn't want to go, so you would feel bad and they didn't go to school, is that correct?
Yes,
Do you think that's appropriate?
no, I should have made better choices.
I'm sorry?
No, I should have made better choices.
Yes, did they stop going to, when did they stop going to school?
I can't say.
When you were staying with Jose at the Henry B Apartments, did they go to school then?
No,
What did the children do all day?
well, they did go to school, like, it's not like they never went to school. Because even when I had the CPS case, they told me that the school had made a complaint that they smelled like cigarettes. So they did go to school, it's just some days they just wouldn't go to school, they would stay with me.
Cigarettes is interesting. Did you smoke?
No,
Why did they smell of cigarettes?
I don't know, I didn't think they did, because I don't smoke cigarettes.
Um, is it true that Mercedes had asthma?
Yes,
And did you prevent her from being around cigarette smoke?
nobody smoked in the house, so I don't know why they made that allegation.
What other complaints, if any, did the school make about you?
That's it, that's all the CPS told
Is
me.
that why you really stopped taking them to school, because there were complaints?
No,
If we were to contact the school, what did they tell us?
Objection, hearsay, and speculation.
Sustained,
I'll rephrase that. So nobody in the house at Homer smoked.
no,
When you were at various other places, how many other places besides Jose's did you stay at?
that's it,
Didn't you have another boyfriend that you stayed at in December of
Oh, yeah.
2021?
yes,
What was his name?
his name is Damon Gonzalez.
Damon Rosales. And did the children stay with you then when you were at his house?
Yes,
And who did he live with?
he lives with his grandma.
Did she have complaints about you too?
No,
She was happy that you were there?
yes,
Did they smoke?
Damon smoked.
So maybe that was his smoke that was, the school was complaining about with the
Okay.
children?
Object to relevant, sir.
overruled.
Answer?
Yes, you can answer.
Yes, maybe, but he didn't smoke cigarettes, he smoked weed,
Oh, he smoked weed.
and he wouldn't do it around the girls.
So when the school complained about smoke, they weren't necessarily speaking about cigarette smoke.
No, they said cigarette smoke.
Cigarette smoke? And you have no idea who smoked cigarettes around them.
I don't know why they would say that.
Well, they did though, apparently. You said.
Yes, but I don't know why they said that.
Well, if they were with you all the time and the school complained about smoke, where was the smoke coming from?
I'm gonna object to asked and answered.
That'll be overruled. If you know the answer, you can answer.
I don't know.
You had a pediatrician. What was the name of the pediatrician?
I think her name was Veronica Zamora or something like that.
And did you miss appointments with Miss Veronica,
No,
Dr. Veronica? Never
No.
missed appointments?
no,
If we had medical records from your pediatrician, 78 pages, and it says there that you missed 12 appointments, the records would be wrong. Is that right?
most likely yes.
I'm sorry?
Most likely yes.
Their records are wrong. That's correct. What treatment was given to your children by the pediatrician?
What do you mean?
What treatment did she give them? For what?
They would only go for like their yearly checkups.
Wasn't Mercedes diagnosed with asthma?
I've already said yes to that.
Wasn't there a treatment plan for asthma provided by the doctor's office?
No, they just, her asthma didn't act up all the time, so they just said that she would have an asthma pump. She didn't really use it.
Did you have one for her?
Yes,
Where did you get the asthma pump?
from the pharmacy.
Which pharmacy was that?
I don't know.
You don't know? How did you get it if you don't know who
It
was
was
it?
a referral.
It was a referral, but referral from the doctor to a pharmacy, and they provided an asthma inhaler,
Yes.
but you don't know where the pharmacy was.
No, I can't remember. It was a long time ago.
Did you have more than one pharmacy?
I don't know.
And you're saying there was no treatment plan for asthma for a child?
No, she didn't have asthma like that. She didn't act up. Her asthma didn't act up like that.
If we bring Dr. Zamora Campos, do you think she would say something different?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
What would she say?
Objection calls for speculation and hearsay.
What
Sustained.
did she say?
Objection calls for hearsay.
Sustained.
Is it your testimony clearly that there was no treatment plan for your child's asthma?
Objection asked and answered.
That'll be overruled.
Yes,
When you said that there were times that Mercedes held her breath, could it have been related to her asthma?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
You're her mother. If she couldn't breathe, did you try to determine why?
I don't get that question.
I'm sorry, you don't get that question? You testified, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that she would hold her breath
Yeah, she did that like 1 or 2 times
one or two times. Why did she do it?
because she was mad. She was angry.
I'm sorry?
She was mad. She was angry.
Was it possible that she was not able to breathe because of her asthma?
No,
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 she was just angry.
yes.
What did she display about having asthma? What conduct did she display?
None really. Like I said, it didn't act up like that.
Her asthma didn't act up like that?
No,
Was she able to feed herself?
yes.
From what age? Do you remember?
1,
From the age of 1. And did you take her to the doctors for anything other than their yearly shots?
yes, I believe so. I can't remember for what, but I know that we made appointments for different things.
What kind of things?
I can't really remember, to be honest.
How many children do you have?
2,
You can't remember what treatment they had for 1 or 2 children?
Can object to argumentative and asked and answered.
Overruled.
Why don't you know when you had 2 children?
because I'm sure it's been over 3 years that I took them to the doctor.
And You just don't remember.
Exactly.
Other than Damien, was there anybody else you lived with?
No,
And you worked,
yes.
and what did you do for a job?
I used to work at Console Plus as a call center, and then I worked at Spectrum's call center, and then I danced at, Diamond Show Club, Sugars, and Perfect 10.
Sugars. All right, when did you work? What was the time period that you worked?
I believe I was like 18 and 19. I worked at Cons.
At
and
what?
At Cons,
What does that mean?
Cons Home Plus. The call center,
Home furniture, or
yes, the call center,
it was a call center for a furniture place?
yes,
Okay, and that was when you were 18 or 19. What was that time? What years were they? I don't know how old you are.
2018, 2019,
2019. Okay, and you had children at that time, is that right?
yes.
And where were the children when you worked?
Daycare,
Daycare. Where was that daycare?
I can't remember.
Where was the place that you worked?
Near 410,
410 and what?
I don't know,
You don't know?
no,
And this was just cons. Did you have a car?
yes,
You were able to drive to work?
yes,
Was it your car or someone else's?
it was my car.
Did you always have that car or just for a short period or what?
I believe I had a BMW for a little while,
A BMW?
yes,
What year?
a 2002,
In 2002. I'm sorry. Oh, a 2002 model. Okay, thank you. All right. How did you get that BMW?
Object to relevance.
Sustained.
When you worked, were you able to buy a car?
I'm gonna object to relevance.
Sustained.
Did you have a car when you were moving around to these different places that you lived?
I'm gonna object to relevance.
Overruled.
did I have a car?
Yes.
Yes,
And what kind of a car was it? The same BMW?
Gonna object to relevance.
Sustained.
What kind of a car was it?
Gonna object to relevance.
Sustained.
How did you get to the various places that you lived?
I had a car,
Object to relevance.
Overruled.
I had a car,
You had a car. And that's how you were able to travel?
yes.
Now, you said you worked at Cons for a year or so. And then where else did you work?
And then when I was like 19 and 20, I worked at Spectrum's as a collection specialist. And I was there for almost like a year and a half. And then COVID hit and I had a sick leave. So I stayed at home and got paid for like 3 months. And after that, then my godmother was really sick. And so I moved back in with them and
Well, where were you living?
I had an apartment,
You had your own apartment? Okay.
yes,
Who did you live with?
just myself and my girls,
And both children?
both my girls.
Okay, who watched them then?
Daycare,
Daycare. You had day shifts?
yes.
Okay. Where did you work after that?
After that, I was like 20, 21, and I started dancing at Perfect 10.
At what?
Perfect 10
Perfect 10. Was that during the day or at night?
and at night.
Night. And who watched the children then?
Angelica and Ronnie and my godfather.
Family
Yes,
people. So you worked at Sugars and that's where, or Perfect 10, that's where you met Jose on
No.
how? No?
no,
Where did you meet him?
I met him at Diamond Show Club.
Diamond
Show Club.
Show Club. And where is that?
I don't know.
Where was Perfect 10?
Gonna object to relevance.
Overruled.
I don't know. I'm not good with directions.
I'm not asking for directions, I'm asking for locations.
I'm not good with that. I don't know. I would GPS everything.
You GPS everything. So, then you did have a phone in those days, yes?
Yes,
In the days when you were at Perfect 10 and Diamond, whatever, and Sugars, did you have a place to live on your own
no, I was staying with Homer.
with Homer? And there was no objection to where you worked, is that right?
No,
What point did you meet Jose Angel?
I can't remember.
Was he before or after Damien?
After,
After Damien, did you live with Damien?
I'm gonna object to relevant. And answer
Overruled.
answer.
Did you live with him prior to Jose?
yes,
Where?
at 939 Dilly Place.
I'm sorry,
939 Dilly Place.
how can you remember that?
I lived there for 4 years.
Oh, for 4 years. Were you married to him?
No,
Were you engaged to
I'm
him?
gonna object to relevant.
Sustained.
What was your relationship with him?
I'm gonna object to relevant.
Sustained.
Did you have any children with him?
no,
Was it just him living with you and your children?
no, I said his grandma lived there.
So he didn't have his own place, he lived with his grandmother,
Yes,
and you lived there.
yes, and in the beginning, his mom also lived there too.
I'm sorry?
When I first moved in, his mom, his brother, and his grandma lived there.
Why is that relevant?
You asked me who lived there.
Okay, thank you. But you knew that location, you knew where that was, right?
Yes,
Was it near any of the places that you worked?
no,
Object to relevant.
All right, that'll be untimely. She's already answered. Ask your next question.
When you were living with Damien, what years was that?
I'm gonna object to relevant.
Overruled. You can answer if you know.
I don't know.
When did you get pregnant with Mercedes?
When I was 15,
What year was that?
2015.
2015. And this is when you lived with Homer, is that right?
No, I lived with Alfred, their dad.
Alfred, their dad?
Yes,
What period of time did you live with him?
from 2011 to 2015.
And he's the father of both of your daughters?
Yes,
There was some speculation.
I'm gonna object to hearsay.
Well, let me hear the question.
There was some speculation that he was not the father of Mercedes.
I'm gonna object to hearsay and
Is
relevant.
that true?
Sustained.
Was Homer the father of this
I'm
child?
gonna object
What,
to
what's your objection? Just one moment.
relevant.
Sustained.
Why did you dislike Mercedes so much?
I never said I disliked them.
Your conduct said otherwise.
I'm gonna object to argumentative and sidebar.
Sustained.
How many times did CPS examine your lifestyle in regard to the children?
I wanna say about, like, my whole life.
Well, the children aren't that old. I'm only interested, there are,
Well, since I've been a mother,
all right, since you've been a mother, that's a better way of putting it. How many times did they examine you?
maybe 5 times,
5 times?
as I can remember.
You can remember. Did they investigate you when you were living with the father of your girls?
Yes,
And how many times was it then?
I can remember.
Do you remember why they investigated you?
I believe that somebody made a false report that I was being neglectful towards Jordan.
Was that the occasion when they investigated you because of the hand mark on Mercedes' body?
No,
When was that? Was that the next boyfriend?
No, I was living with my dad, my biological father at the time. And, I was at work at KFC and.
At where?
KFC.
Oh,
I was about like 16 years old when that happened. 16, 17 years old.
when you say biological father, excuse me for prying, but is that different than Homer?
Yes,
Okay, and you have a relationship with your biological father, is that correct?
yes.
And how long were you living with him?
I'm gonna object to relevant.
Sustained,
When were you living with him?
I'm gonna object to relevant.
sustained,
Were you a parent when you were living with him?
I'm gonna object to relevant.
that'll be overruled. You can answer.
Yes,
With which child?
both.
Both children?
Yes.
And you don't recall the nature of why you were investigated?
I said that they had, made a false allegation that I was being neglectful towards Jordan.
First Jordan, what did they say that was wrong?
I'm gonna object, calls for hearsay.
Sustained,
What was the nature of their complaint about your mishandling of Jordan?
I'm gonna object, calls for hearsay.
sustained,
Do you know why they investigated you?
I'm gonna object, calls for hearsay.
overruled. You can answer.
What was the question?
Do you know why they were investigating you?
I know at the time I didn't know, but they don't tell you like who said it or who made an allegation.
I'm not interested in who, I'm interested in why. Why did they,
I said that because they were concerned about abuse of Jordan.
what kind of abuse was charged?
They didn't tell me, they just said that I was being neglectful.
What did that mean to you?
I'm gonna object to relevance.
What's the relevancy?
The relevance of why she's being investigated by CPS, Your
All
Honor?
right, that objection is sustained.
Just for clarity, Your Honor, I'm not allowed to find out why CPS
As
investigated
it
her?
relates to Jordan, that is sustained.
Okay, thank you. But there was no allegation of Mercedes at the same time, and you said she was there then.
Yeah, there was no allegation towards Mercedes at the time.
At the time, at this time, Jordan was a baby, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And actually Mercedes wasn't born yet, or was she?
No, she was.
So. After you worked at KFC, you worked at the strip clubs.
No, after I worked at KFC, I started working at Laguna Madre and McDonald's. And then I started working at Cons, and then I started working
Again?
at Spec. No,
When did you work at Cons?
I'm gonna object to.
Discuss that?
All right, so here's the thing, and this is the last time I'm going to say it. You all cannot speak over each other. If you continue to do that, guess what? The court reporter is not going to be able to take it down. And Diana, if they continue to speak over each other and you can't take it down, then it will not be taken down. Everyone needs to wait till the question is asked. If there's an objection, the objection then can be made, and I will make a ruling on that objection. If you hear either of the parties make an objection, don't say anything. Wait till I make my ruling. If you don't understand my ruling, you can ask me whether or not you can answer it. Do you understand?
yes, ma'am.
Ask your question.
When Mercedes was born, you lived with your biological father. Where did you go next?
Objection relevant.
Sustained.
Where did?
Yes, I sustained it.
That I can't find out where Mercedes
I have
lived?
entered my objection. I have sustained it. Ask your next question.
Okay. When is the first time CPS interviewed you in regard to Mercedes?
I can't remember.
Were most of the complaints against you about Mercedes or Jordan?
Both.
Both. And the nature of those complaints,
All my CPS cases got dismissed and closed except for this last one.
all right? So 6,000 pages were all dismissed. Would they say something different?
No,
Anyone other than Jose allegedly hit Mercedes?
I didn't.
You did. And did Damien or your biological father or
No,
um, do you know that Jordan gave a statement about what happened with Mercedes?
I'm aware of that.
You're aware of what she said?
I didn't get to hear what she said, but I'm aware that she made a statement.
She talked about what happened the day she died. If Jordan said that you were jamming food down Mercedes' throat, would she be telling the truth?
No,
If Jordan said that Mercedes kept spitting it up, that you were gorging her mouth and she spit it up, that would not be the truth?
no,
If Jordan said that you got angry and jammed a spoon accidentally down her throat, would she be lying?
no. Wait, yes, sorry,
Yes?
yes,
Yes, she's lying. If Jordan said that when you jammed the spoon down Mercedes' throat, she fell on the floor from the chair she was in and didn't breathe again, she'd be lying, yes?
yes,
And if she said that you tried to give her breath, but you couldn't, that Mercedes stopped breathing, Jordan would be lying. Is that true?
yes.
Jordan's a big liar, isn't she?
I mean, she was lying about that, yes.
Why would she lie about that?
I'm not sure, maybe somebody coached her.
No, the police, excuse me. According to the police, you had no opportunity to talk to her, and she was taken from right away to a social worker and gave this statement.
I'm gonna object to sidebar comment, not asking a question.
If
All
she
right,
made
excuse
these-
me. All right. What's your objection?
Sidebar comment, no question asked.
All right, that'll be sustained.
If she made these statements, and the only people that we know of that she was with were the CPS people, between Mercedes' death and the statement, who would have told her what to say?
I'm gonna object, cause for speculation.
Sustained.
Rephrase. She made these statements. And there's no indication, you didn't speak to her again after Mercedes' death, is that correct?
That's correct, but she wasn't Jose and Jeanette's care before she arrived at the hospital.
She was in, but you were there too.
No, I wasn't.
Where were you?
I was inside the hospital with Mercedes.
Jeanette was with Jose?
Yes, they were together.
They were together. Where? In the car?
I don't know, I just know that Jose came to drop off Jordan and he got her from Jeanette and Jeanette and Jose were together because when Jose was calling my phone, well, his phone, and I was in the hospital and he was asking for his phone, he was with Jeanette and Jordan.
Jeanette and Jordan were in the car at that time.
I don't know.
If the policeman said something different, would he be lying too?
Said something different about what?
About who was in the car? Did you know that the policeman interviewed Jose at the hospital? It's even on video. Did you know that?
No,
We saw a video earlier. And he was being interviewed, and he didn't indicate that there was a child in the car with someone else.
well, he's the one that got uploaded because.
So the policeman is, if we. saw-
All right, so here's the thing. How
Sorry.
many times must I say? You all need to speak one person at a time. Is that hard for everybody to understand?
Not to understand, Your Honor, but I apologize.
We're taking a break. Ladies and gentlemen, the court reporter needs a break. So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and we're going to come back at 4:10. Is that enough time for everyone?
Yes, sir.
Remember my previous instructions.
All right, Sergeant.
All right, everyone, please be seated. Defense, it's your witness.
Sure. Miss Medina, you testified, I believe, that police were called to where you were living on at least 2 occasions? No, yes?
Say that again, what was that?
You testified, as I believe, and I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong, that police came at least twice to where you were living,
When was it?
anytime.
Well, I live different places, so
I understand that. How many times have police come during your whole tenure as a mother?
I'm gonna object to relevant.
Overruled.
when I was with Jose, I think they got called like 3 times.
I'm sorry,
3 times?
3 times? And did they make reports or come in or examine the children or anything?
No,
Did you talk to them or did Jose talk with them?
both of us.
Why were they there?
They had a complaint of noise or something like that.
Not a complaint about the safety of the children?
I'm gonna object, call for speculation and hearsay.
Overruled. You can answer if you know.
No, I don't know.
I'm sorry, you're saying then the police only came because of noise complaints, is that right?
That's what they told me.
And they're always in the daytime?
This was, no, one time they came at night.
Did they come in the apartment?
No,
What was the reason for coming?
I don't know, we didn't answer the door
Why didn't you answer the door for police?
because Mercedes had bruises and I was scared.
Because why?
Mercedes had bruises and I was scared.
What were you scared of?
I was scared of Jose.
Jose? Why didn't you leave?
He had said that if we opened the door that he was gonna shoot the gun inside the house.
He was gonna shoot the gun inside the house.
Yes,
When Jordan said she never saw a gun, was she lying on that one too?
yes.
If he was gonna shoot the gun, why did you stay the next day? Why weren't you gone the next day? If he was gonna
I
shoot
had
the gun.
nowhere to go.
There are shelters you could go to if somebody's gonna shoot a gun. What about the safety of your children?
Um,
When Mercedes died, why were you feeding her that day?
I didn't feed her. I gave her food, but she fed herself.
She fed herself animal crackers, ramen
No.
noodles, bananas, what else?
Ramen noodles, bananas, and Danimals.
Animal cookies,
No, Danimals yogurt.
animals and yogurt, okay. Wasn't that an awful lot? Does she always eat that much?
I mean, she didn't eat it all, but she was picking whatever she wanted to eat.
Jordan also said that when she couldn't get any more breath, and you, although you tried to give her breath, that you then went to Jose's apartment.
Yes,
Is she
because,
lying about that?
no, I mean, I didn't try to give her breath. She didn't run out of breath, but we did go to Jose's apartment after that.
But Jordan is definitely lying about the breath business.
Yes, she was still breathing.
She was still breathing. Okay, so you went to Jose's. He didn't come to your place first,
No,
right?
he did. He came to Jeanette's house and then Jeanette got there. And we took Mercedes to Jose's new apartment.
Jose's new apartment. Why did you go there?
because Jeanette and her sons got there and I didn't want anybody to get scared about what was going on.
What was going on?
Mercedes was throwing up and, she looked very ill. And she had two little boys, so I didn't want them to like get scared or anything like that, so we took her to the apartment.
Why didn't you take her to the hospital when she was behaving like that?
I was scared that my kids were gonna get taken away.
Weren't you concerned about her care?
I
Not
didn't
what
think,
happened to you, but her care?
I didn't think she was dying, I just thought that she ate too much or she just had an upset stomach.
So you saw the vomit, we saw pictures of vomiting. Where was she when she vomited at Jose's?
And was it
When she was at Jose's, where did she vomit?
on the bed,
On the bed. Okay, where else?
on the floor?
She was a pretty skinny little kid. Did she usually eat that much on her own?
She lost a lot of weight within those 3 weeks, she was really chubby.
She was chubby.
Mhm.
How much did she weigh at her chubbiest?
I don't know,
You don't know how much your child weighed?
that's what I think.
Why did you go to the hospital on the south side?
Because I needed my dad to be there with me and I wasn't thinking, I was just, acting in impulse.
You needed your dad to be with you, but your child was dying.
I didn't know she was dying.
You didn't know. There are hospitals so much closer to Huebner than all the way on the south side. There's the medical center on the way. There's a Santa Rosa, the places downtown. All these hospitals you pass. That Miss Giovanco showed you the number of places in between. And you had them go all the way to the south side. Now you say when you were holding Mercedes in your lap on the way down in the car, you weren't sure if she was breathing or not.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if she was breathing or not.
What did you do to check if she was breathing or not?
I put my finger to her neck or I felt her nose to see if she was breathing through her nose,
Where on her neck did you put your fingers?
right here.
Okay, and then you checked her nose. How did you do that? With your hand or your
Okay.
face?
I just put my hand like that to her nose to see if she was breathing through her nose.
And was any breath coming out of her?
Yes,
Yes?
yes, at first there was,
First there was. And when you took her into the hospital, was any breath coming out of her?
no,
What did you say when you got into the hospital?
I said, somebody help me, my baby's not breathing.
She was cold at that point, wasn't she?
No,
The hospital workers' report said that she was cold. Are they lying?
I'm not sure, I wasn't thinking of it, I was just holding her.
Was your father there when you got there?
Yes,
When did you call him?
on the way to the hospital,
On the way?
yes,
You didn't call him beforehand from Jose's apartment?
no,
Why not?
I don't know,
I don't know why you didn't call your father,
yeah,
but you were going there specifically to see your father. That's what
No.
you said. Or no, was I wrong on that?
no, you're wrong.
Okay, I'm wrong. So do you mind clarifying it then?
I wanted my dad to be there so that way he could take Jordan, and I wanted to get, to the hospital that, she had been frequently visited before. I thought that was the smartest idea.
My understanding, I thought you said that it was just you and Jose and Mercedes in the car on the way to the hospital.
No, I said it was me, Jose, and Mercedes in the car at the, when we were going to the hospital.
Yes. So why did you say Jordan was with you on the way?
I didn't say that.
clarify it. I'm clearly wrong.
Jordan was with Jeanette.
Where was that?
They were supposed to be following us to the hospital, so she was in a different car.
She was in a different car following you. All right. And you wanted your father there to get Jordan,
Yes,
yes? And you called him and whose phone did you use?
okay,
Because you didn't have a phone?
exactly.
When you were making phone calls to Jose up at the apartments, what phone were you using?
I used to text on the computer.
Text from the computer. What kind of a computer?
I don't know which Jeanette's.
Was it an iPad? Was it a laptop? Was it a
It was a
PC?
laptop.
It was a laptop. Where was it?
I'm gonna object to relevant.
Sustained.
You texted from the computer. Did you use the computer regularly?
I'm gonna object to relevance.
Sustained.
You didn't have a phone at Jose's apartment when you went there, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So riding in the car, at what point did you call your father to be sure that he would be there?
When we were on the way,
And,
Right,
but
just
he was
one-
there ahead of you.
Sorry, just one moment, please. Diana, do you need your glasses? All right, you may continue.
Father that was at the hospital ahead of you. How far away did he live from the hospital?
like 7 minutes.
7 minutes? It's amazing how accurate you are on that. Why are you accurate on 7 minutes?
I'm gonna object to sidebar comment and relevance.
Sustained.
How did you know how far it was from where Homer was to the hospital?
I'm gonna object to relevant.
I'm not
Sustained.
talking about home.
Excuse me.
Who's
Once an objection is raised, you need to stop speaking
Yes,
and I'll make a ruling. And if you don't know whether or not you should answer, you just ask me. The objection is sustained. Ask your next question.
When you met the father at the hospital, I thought it was Homer. Was it your biological father?
yes.
And what was his name?
Rodolfo,
Rodolfo. But Rodolfo was at the hospital when you got there.
he was pulling up when we were pulling up.
It's pulling up. Okay, and didn't you tell Jose not to go in because your father didn't like him?
No, I didn't say that.
You didn't say that.
No,
When you were in the hospital, you called Jose on the phone.
no, he called his phone.
He used his phone. So what phone did you use?
He had 2 or 3 phones, so I had one of them.
You had one of them. And you did or didn't talk to Jose when you were in the hospital?
No, I did. He called like 3 times.
Called you 3 times. And did you answer all 3 times?
Yes,
And what did you say to him?
I'm gonna object, calls for hearsay.
Overruled.
he was just asking about the phone, and if I was okay that he was gonna be outside and that he had Jordan, or that he was gonna get Jordan, something like that.
Weren't you fighting with him?
No, I just told him like, I did cuss, but I wasn't like fighting with him. I just said, you know, my daughter just fucking died. What the fuck is your problem? Worried about a phone? I'm not worried about a phone right now.
Detective Cahill, do you remember talking with him?
No, that name doesn't ring a bell.
Remember talking to anybody at the hospital?
Yes,
Policeman?
yes.
If a policeman said that you were fighting on the phone with somebody at the hospital, would that policeman be lying?
Like I said, I was cussing and I was being loud, but I mean, I wasn't fighting. I was just hysterical because I just lost my daughter.
And that was, you were using one of Jose's phones,
Yes,
and you're saying he had 2 or 3.
yes.
What's that? Oh, not very good. So when you were at the hospital, you did talk to more than one police officer?
Yes,
And were they people in uniform or were they people in plain clothes?
two were in uniform and then the detective came in plain clothes.
Do you remember any of their names, the detectives?
No,
Do you remember giving different statements, different descriptions of the facts to different officers?
I can't remember.
But you can remember 7 minutes from one place to the next.
I'm gonna object argumentative.
Sustained.
Agreed, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'll withdraw that. Now you have, when you got out that night from the hospital after Mercedes died, what did you do?
I'm gonna object to relevance.
Overruled.
Were you taken to the police station?
Yes,
By whom?
by the detective, I believe.
And you don't know which one?
No,
Were you in a plain car or a marked police car?
I'm gonna object to relevance.
Overruled.
I can't remember. I think it was a police car
Where did you sit?
in the back.
Were you in handcuffs or anything?
No,
Were you under arrest?
no,
So when you got to the police station, what happened?
I gave them a statement.
You gave a statement.
Yes,
Was it a written statement or a verbal statement?
a verbal statement.
Verbal statement. Did anybody give you your rights not to talk or you could have a lawyer? Did anybody tell you that?
No,
What did you do after you gave the statement?
they dropped me off at my dad's house.
Which dad are we talking about here?
My biological father.
Biological father. Okay, and you go back to the police station another time.
Yes,
When?
I think it was February 11th.
Did you leave the police station that night?
No,
You stayed there all night?
oh, well, they arrested me that night,
They did arrest you the same night
February 11th.
of February 11th? And that was a nighttime appointment that you had with police?
I'm gonna
I
object.
can't remember.
You can't remember? I'm sorry, did you say you can't remember?
I said I can't remember.
You gave a different story on February 11th than you did the first night. Do you remember that?
No,
Do you remember what you said?
somewhat, yeah,
I'm sorry?
somewhat.
What did you say?
I'm gonna object, calls for hearsay.
That'll be overruled.
I'm also gonna object to vague.
That'll be overruled.
What did you say when you spoke to the police officers?
I told them that, oh, I started from the beginning, I told them that, I told them how Mercedes was said, and
Oh, I'm sorry, what did you say?
I told them how Mercedes went with Jose for that one day, and I told them how she spent the night at his house. I told them, that the next day me and my godfather got into an argument, and I left, and I was sick. And that day, that's when I found out that Jose had pinched Mercedes in her thighs, and I told them that Jose was beating on Mercedes and pulling her hair.
I'm gonna object to narrative.
Sustained.
When you were there on February 11th, why were you talking about Jose? Why weren't you talking about how Mercedes died?
Because of how she died, Jose beat her to death.
Jose beat her to death. When? When did he beat her to death?
Those 2 or 3 weeks that we were living with him.
A week from what day? What day? A week from when did he beat her to death? She died February 7th.
So 3 weeks before that,
3 weeks before that, he beat her to death.
the abuse piled up and she ended up dying because he was beating on her.
When did she die?
February 7th.
But he beat her to death 3 weeks before that. Is that right?
What I'm saying is what he was doing to her caused her death.
And who told you that?
I did.
You did. Why didn't you turn him into the police?
I don't know, because I was in love with him.
In love with somebody who was hurting your children?
Yes,
It's really all about you, isn't it?
no,
When did you stop loving him?
the day that I left his house,
What day was that?
I don't know.
Do you remember writing jail letters and writing to somebody? I don't know who, the state provides this to us, but in that letter,
I'm gonna object to hearsay and relevance.
All right, the objection to relevance will be sustained.
you had said, as I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, because I can be wrong. You said, as I understood it, that Jose hadn't seen the children for a full 2 days before she died. Was that my mistake?
No, that's correct.
That's correct. So you definitely didn't see them that day before, nor the day before that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
How did he beat her to death 3 weeks before?
She was already sick.
She was what?
She was already sick. She was feeling weak.
When was she feeling weak?
I would say a week after we had moved in with him.
Week after what?
We moved in with him. So sometime in January,
Why did you move in with him?
because I was in a place to go, he was my boyfriend and I trusted him
Why?
because I loved him.
All these bad things you're saying about Jose, isn't it because that's to help you get probation from your
No,
plea?
that's not true. I don't expect probation.
You don't, but you applied for it.
Yes, I know, but I don't expect it
Why did you apply for it?
because I would want probation, but I don't expect probation
Why don't you expect it?
because it's reality. I know
Sorry?
that I'm not innocent.
You're not innocent.
No,
Yes, I agree with you. Definitely recommend it. Yeah. So that's, What, do you remember making the plea bargain before the judge on August 7th of last year?
yes,
What happened in that plea?
I signed an agreement for Catholic 45 with a possibility of probation and a testimony.
If you give the testimony. And how many charges did you have before you made that plea?
I'm not sure.
There were a lot of them, weren't there?
I'm gonna back to argumentative.
Sustained.
Did the state drop a number of charges against you? For you to make that plea bargain?
I think so, yes.
Your Honor, I'm trying to find the indictment, just a moment.
Sure.
What specifically did you plead guilty to?
Guilty by omission,
What does that mean?
I'm not sure.
You pled that you did something wrong. And as a result of that, you might be eligible for probation or a period of years maximum. What was the maximum period of years?
45.
45 years. And what did you say that you did to even have to look at 45 years in jail? What?
That I saw what was going on and I didn't report it.
That's all you did?
I think that's what my indictment looks like, yeah.
I'm sorry, I really didn't understand what you just said.
I said that's what my indictment says, I believe.
I want to know what you pled guilty to, what you did wrong that you're looking at 45 years.
I'm gonna object to ask and answer.
That would be sustained.
You know you're responsible for her death, don't you?
No,
Why?
because I didn't beat her.
You didn't beat her. But you're saying that Jose beat her to death 3 weeks earlier, and you continue to live with him, and you don't think you're responsible for her death?
I'm gonna object to argumentative.
That'll be overruled. You can answer it.
Yeah,
Yes, what?
yes, I don't think that I'm responsible.
You don't think you're responsible for her death?
I have fault, but I don't think that I killed her.
Why is that? You kept her with a man who beat her to death weeks before, but you didn't kill her?
I'm gonna object to argumentative
Is there any other objection?
relevance.
Sustained.
You at least admit that you contributed to her death.
Yes,
Test witness.
State has no further questions.
All right. The rule has been invoked. You're not allowed to discuss your testimony with anyone except for attorneys for the state or the defense, and of course, your attorney. You may step down.
She's subject to call, Your Honor, by defense.
You all wish to recall her?
Might.
All right. Deputy Mejia, if you all make sure she's available tomorrow. It's my understanding that the state has one last witness. Are you all okay with taking up this one last witness? All right, state, call your next witness.
State called Sylvia Castillo.
Okay.
If you take it, yes, come forward.
Oh.
All right, if you raise your right hand, hello. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, that nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Sylvia Castillo
State.
Ms. Castillo, how are you presently employed?
with IC Solutions.
And what is IC Solutions?
We handle communication services for jails and prisons across the nation.
Okay, and what are your duties with IC Solutions?
Director of Client Services and also a custodian of records for IC Solutions.
How long have you been with IC Solutions?
13 and a half years.
How do the jail calls work? How are they recorded?
Once the phone goes off hook, they enter in the, intake number, and then they select a 4-digit passcode. And then they're able to make a call after that.
Are those passcodes and numbers, are they connected to a specific inmate?
Yes, ma'am.
And are the calls recorded automatically?
Yes, ma'am. Unless it's a call to an attorney line that's previously been set up as privileged.
And how are they stored?
As soon as the phone goes off hook, they're stored in our system, enforcer system.
And who has access to that system?
Only people who have credentials, so only people within IC Solutions and within the counties themselves, if they have provided permission to give them access to it.
And how long are they stored for?
The duration of the contract, and then after that, they're put on a drive and given to the counties.
And were you asked to pull a jail call made by Jose Ruiz?
Yes, ma'am.
May I approach?
Yes.
John, for me, what's been marked as State's Exhibit 111, do you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you recognize it?
I initially invaded it.
And have you listened to this State's Exhibit 111 prior to testifying today?
Yes, I did.
Is this a jail call made by Jose Ruiz?
Yes, ma'am.
When was this recording made?
It was February 8th, 2022.
And is it a fair and accurate copy of the recording that was recorded on that date?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, state would offer State's Exhibit 111.
I take the witness on board, Your Honor.
Yes.
Do you have personal contact with the inmates at the Bexar County Jail?
No, I don't.
Do you don't know Jose Ruiz, do you?
Personally, no, ma'am.
Okay. Have you ever spoken to him before?
No, ma'am.
Do you know whose voices these are on this disc?
No, everything is based on our system, so it's based on the intake number and then the passcode that he.
But you are aware that inmates buy each other's codes for calls, don't you? You know that sometimes they give each other their intake number or whatever it is, so they can use that for calls,
Yeah,
correct?
not sure that happened.
I object, Your Honor. I don't think there's any foundation laid to have this entered into evidence.
State.
And Judge, she's already testified that it was the day after the alleged incident, and it happened. I mean, very quickly. He had not been in custody for very long.
She hasn't testified to that.
Mm-mm.
Well, she testified to the date, and other
Yes.
testimony does correlate it to the time period. And
That disc needs to be attributed to Mr. Ruiz. So how is that disc connected to Mr. Ruiz?
she's testified that it is connected to him by the inmate number.
Is he the only Mr. Ruiz who was in custody on that date
I mean, she
at the jail?
she did testify specifically to Jose Ruiz.
Was he the only Jose Ruiz who was at the jail on that date?
I do not know the answer to that.
Then how do we know what that disc purports to be?
How do you know that this is the Jose Ruiz that is involved in this trial?
Everything's based on the intake ID. So the intake number that he entered when making the phone call. And then, of course, the passcode, they have to have a PIN number to make phone calls.
Do they have to state their name as part of the recording to get access to make that phone call?
Yes,
And is that something that each individual person is recorded with their own voice? And it has to be approved and tied to that person when they make that phone call?
yes.
And was that done in this case?
It's, in this instance, it was made in the JIAC Center, so the Justice Intake Center. It's not a two-factor verification at this point. It's intake number plus the passcode that they select. The voice verification doesn't kick in until they're actually booked into the Bexar County jail, where then there's a two-factor authentication.
Okay, and so this was not even at the jail, it was at a separate facility.
This is at the Bear County Jail, but in a JIAC center associated at the Bear County Jail. And we do process those phone calls as well.
Can you tell what time the call was made?
Yes. The phone went off hook at 10:26 a.m. and the start time of the phone call is at 10:27 a.m.
I'm sorry, what was the date again?
February 8th, 2022.
Judge, at this point, I would reoffer, and I'm gonna argue that the business record has been made, and any other evidence about any possible other inmates goes to wait out of visibility.
No, the issue is not whether that's a business record or not. The issue is whether or not that specific disc can be tied to the person who's sitting here.
And my argument is it goes to weight not admissibility, and she's testified it was tied to his number, and the jury can compare his voice to the voice they heard on the inmate statements.
It's not correct, Judge. They can't tie it to him. A foundation hasn't been laid. It's irrelevant right now.
The foundation has not been laid.
When do inmates get assessed a PIN number?
A PIN number when they're booked in, an intake number. Yes, once they make a phone call, they're asked to select a 4-digit passcode. That PIN number consists
I would object, asked and answered. I mean, as to the core information that's necessary here, she's already told us she doesn't know. I mean, whatever it is that she's gonna say, she doesn't know Jose Ruiz. She doesn't know the voices on that phone. She cannot identify them. There's no identification between that disc and this man. So I object. I think you can ask 100 more questions. It's not going to change the fact that foundation's not laid, and I object to its admission.
All right, that objection will be overruled, but you need to lay the foundation.
I'll pass the witness.
Object. Foundation hadn't been laid.
Are you laying the foundation with this witness?
I have not reoffered the exhibit. I'm passing the witness.
All right, the exhibit is not being offered.
Okay. No questions, Your Honor.
Any further questions?
Not from this witness.
All right, the rule has been invoked. What that means is you're not allowed to speak with anyone about this case. The only persons you're allowed to speak to are attorneys for the state of the defense. You may step down.
Thank you.
All right, state, call your next witness.
State calls Katrina Mendoza.
Have you already sent her back? All right, can you have her brought back up?
And Judge, we would ask for 3 minutes to let her listen to the call to be able to identify his voice.
Sure.
Not in the presence of some other evidence.
May I confer for a moment?
Sure.
Judge?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna have you all step back in the jury room.
All rise for the jury.
Honestly, I think I've got there. All right, everyone, please be seated.
All right, state you're recalling a witness.
Yes, Judge, we are recalling Katrina Mendoza.
All right, you're still under oath. State you may proceed.
Thank you. Katrina, um, did you just listen to a jail call that was contained on Exhibit 111?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize the voices that you heard in State's Exhibit 111?
Yes, ma'am.
Whose voices did you hear?
Jose's and Che,
Okay, and you, Jose who?
Jose Ruiz.
How do you know that that's Jose's voice?
It sounds like him.
What are his brothers' names?
Rocco and Ruben.
Are they also discussed on this phone call?
Yes,
Are you familiar with Jose Ruiz's voice?
yes.
State would offer into evidence State's Exhibit 111.
Reurge my objection, Your Honor.
All right, that will be overruled. State's Exhibit 111 is admitted.
Can I publish to the jury?
Yes.
Call number 219786140. Inmate ID 216410. Date 2022 28. Time 1026445. Dial number 12107609373 from station 28111. Press 1 for English. Oprima el 2. Please enter your PIN number. To report any type of sexual abuse or sexual harassment for calls within the United States, Canada, and the Caribbean, please. Hello, you have a free call from a resident. This call will be recorded and subject to monitoring at any time. Thank you for using IT Solutions. You may begin speaking.
Hey, bro, we're calling lawyer, I called my lawyer and all, they didn't come back. We're calling back on right now. No, you did, right? You didn't come 1%. What the say was? This is they're gonna call us back to go this thing. Nah, yeah, cause they gave you information, bro, and then they're calling us back. So we're calling everybody, bro.
My nigga, I think it's not autopsy coming back, nigga, I'm in jail, I'm staying at home.
I know, bro, we're getting, so we're calling lawyers, bro.
Fuck the lawyer, what is the lawyer gonna do?
I think they need to offensive and double.
We'll pass the witness, Judge.
Ms. Mendoza, when you entered your guilty plea, the indictment against you, there was an indictment paragraph A that said on or about the 7th day of February 2022, Katrina Mendoza, hereinafter referred to as defendant, did intentionally and knowingly cause serious bodily injury to Mercedes Lasoya, a child who was 14 years of age or younger, by forcing a utensil into the mouth of Mercedes Lasoya and by manner and means unknown to the grand jury. Was that true?
I'm gonna object to asked and answered, reading from items not in evidence and relevance.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
What was the question?
I'll read it again. On the 7th day of February 2022, Katrina Mendoza, hereinafter referred to as defendant, did intentionally and knowingly cause serious bodily injury to Mercedes Lasoya, a child who was 14 years of age or younger, by forcing a utensil into the mouth of Mercedes Lasoya and by manner and means unknown to the grand jury. Was that true?
Yes.
It was true.
That I signed that plea?
What did you say?
I'm not getting your question.
You didn't hear what I said?
I heard what you said, but I don't know what you're asking me.
Was it true?
No,
You said yes a minute ago.
I thought you were asking me if that's the plea that I took.
I asked you the first time, you said it was true. And then you said you don't understand. And then you said it was no. Which is it?
Well, you confused me.
I'm sorry?
You confused me.
I'm confusing you? Want me to read it again?
No,
So which is it? Yes or no? True.
no,
It's not true. So the state made this up and you were gonna fight it. Is that right?
no.
Where would the state get that information?
I'm gonna object to speculation.
Sustained.
So the one that you pled to was the same count, but it said on the 7th day of February 2022, Katrina Rose Mendoza, hereinafter referred to as defendant, did intentionally and knowingly, by omission, cause serious bodily injury to Mercedes Lasoya, a child who was 14 years of age or younger, and the defendant had a legal duty to act and failed to do so in that the defendant failed to seek adequate medical treatment for Mercedes Lasoya. Was that true or not true?
That was true.
It was true. It is true.
It is true.
And how did you do that? By failing to get seek medical attention? How did you fail to do that?
I didn't report what was going on.
You didn't report what was going on when?
The 3 weeks that we were living with Ruiz.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
The 3 weeks we were living with Ruiz.
Which time? Was it when he beat her to death 3 weeks before February 7th or what?
I'm gonna object to argumentative.
Sustained.
The next count is count 2, and it says on or about the 29th day of January, 2022, Katrina Mendoza, hereinafter referred to as defendant, to use and exhibit a deadly weapon, namely hands, that in the manner of its use and intended use was capable of causing death and serious bodily injury, and defendant did intentionally, knowingly, and recklessly cause bodily injury to Mercedes Lasoya, hereinafter referred to as complainant, by holding Mercedes Lasoya underwater with the hands of the defendant. Was that true?
No,
Why did the state claim that?
I'm gonna object, calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Did you ever hold Mercedes Lasoya underwater?
no,
Never.
no.
Count 3, on or about the 1st day of February 2022, Katrina Mendoza, hereinafter referred to as defendant, did intentionally and knowingly cause bodily injury to Mercedes Lasoya, a child who was 14 years of age or younger, by pulling the hair of Mercedes Lasoya with the hands of the defendant. Was that true?
Yes,
You did pull her hair.
yes.
When?
Within those 3 weeks. Within those 3 weeks.
Well, this was specifically the 1st day of February.
All right, ask your next question.
Then there was count 4. On or about the second day of February 2022, Katrina Mendoza, herein referred to as defendant, did intentionally and knowingly cause bodily injury to Mercedes Lozoya, a child who was 14 years of age or younger, by striking Mercedes Lozoya with the foot of the defendant. Was that true?
No,
Count 5, on or about the 5th day of February, 2 days before she died. Katrina Mendoza, hereinafter referred to as defendant, did intentionally and knowingly cause bodily injury to Mercedes Lozoya, a child who was 14 years of age or younger, by striking Miss Mercedes with the hands of the defendant. Was that true?
yes,
How did you strike her?
I spanked her on her butt.
And you felt that was a crime in
Object-
this?
Objection, calls for speculation, relevant.
Sustained.
That was it. So you did plead guilty that you omission by taking her for medical treatment.
Yes,
Yes. And that is true.
yes,
So, and you're not expecting to get probation because you're testifying against Jose?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Are you expecting to get 45 years in jail?
Objection, relevance, and asked and answered.
Sustained.
What do you expect to get in terms of your testimony against Jose?
Objection, relevance.
Overruled.
I'm not sure.
You expect to get something, don't you?
Of course, but I'm not the judge.
You're not what?
I'm not the judge.
And it's this judge who will decide, right?
Yes,
Do you think she's satisfied with what you've done?
Objection calls for speculation.
Sustained.
What do you expect the judge to do for you because of your testimony?
Objection asked and answered and relevant.
Sustained.
You did make a deal, didn't you?
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
Have you been sentenced yet?
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled.
no,
When will you be sentenced?
when will I be sentenced?
Yes.
I'm not sure, whenever this is done.
Pass the witness.
State has no further questions.
All right, you may step down. The rule has been invoked. That means you cannot discuss your testimony with anyone except for attorneys for the state or the defense, and of course, your attorney. You may step down.
Still subject to recall, Your Honor.
All right. Deputies, if you make sure that she's available for tomorrow. Mr. McCray, they'll have her here tomorrow. All right, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are not allowed to start deliberating individually or amongst yourself. You're not allowed to talk about anything that you've heard in this case or discuss it with anyone. You're not allowed to view anything. You're not allowed to do any investigation. Everything that you need to know is to come from inside the courtroom. Does everyone understand?
Yes, Your
All right, so we'll be back off the record. We're gonna start tomorrow at 9 a.m. Because it's Friday, no jurors are called up unless the judge specifically called the jurors, so there should be plenty of parking spaces available for you. And on a good note, it's 5:30, so you will have missed the rush hour traffic out of the garage. All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors.